First, you want to enable some add-ons. Go to Edit, Preferences, and select the Add-on tab. Search for Pine menu, import image as plane, and Node Wrangler, and enable them. To make exports faster, let's add GLTF export as a quick favorite. When pressing Q, you will get directly to the GLTF export options. Collections are not just useful to organize your scene, Blender will only export active collections. Let's add a skybox. Press Shift A and select Mesh, UV Sphere. For our purpose, the default tessellation is a bit high, so we can reduce it. Right-click and select Smooth Shading to get rid of visible edges. Switch to the shading layout and add a new material to the sphere. Give it a name, select the Principled BSDF shader and press Shift-T to create a texture setup. Now you can open up your 360 degrees environment image. To scale the skybox up, press S plus 10 on the number block to scale it by a factor of 10. Always make sure that your objects have a scale of 111. Press Shift A and select Scale to apply the scale. To see the normal direction more easily, you can select Face Orientation. Blue is the positive face direction and red the negative. Negative face directions are used for backface culling. Press Tab to change into edit mode, select everything if it isn't with A and press Shift N to select inside to flip all normals. When we select backface culling in the View menu, we can see the backface culling working. By default, both sides are rendered in the quest. But if you select backface culling in the material properties, only the positive side will be rendered. This is useful to create effects like outlines. Now we want to create a small base to stand on. Press Shift A and select a cylinder. Move it 1 unit down by pressing G, Z, 1 minus. Scale it up, apply the scale, and hit Tab to change into edit mode. In Edge mode, you can select the border with Shift click. With Ctrl B, we can add some bevel. Give it a material with a texture or create your own in Texture Paint mode. To create some UV coordinates, select the UV layout, select everything in edit mode, go in top mode by pressing 7 on the number block and press U. Now select Project from View for a basic frontal mapping. You can scale the UVs with S to get a higher tiling. To create a cutout cloud, we're gonna use the import image as plane function. As you can see, the add-on already did the correct mapping setup. To animate it, place it somewhere on the horizon. Make sure your 3D cursor's in the center. If not, you can reset it here. Right-click on the cloud and select Set Origin to 3D Cursor. If you rotate the cloud around the Z-axis now, it will rotate around the center. Press I and select rotation to add a rotation keyframe. Go to the target frame, rotate the cloud along the Z-axis at 360 degrees and press I to select rotation again. By default, animations have interpolated acceleration and deceleration. With the mouse on the timeline, press 3 and select vector to get the linear interpolation. Only thing left is to set the blend mode to alpha clip in the shading layout. Since the cloud looks a bit strange, I'm gonna add something stupid. First, select the cloud in edit mode, press Shift S and select cursor to selected. Exit edit mode and add the plane. Rotate it and enter edit mode of the plane and merge the top two vertices. You can do that by pressing space and searching for merge in the search bar. With the top vertex still selected, snap the 3D cursor to the position. Exit edit mode and set the origin to the 3D cursor. To pin it to the cloud, Shift select the cloud and press Ctrl P and select Object Keep Transform. Now we can animate the scale of the plane as we did it with the cloud. With Shift D, you can duplicate keyframes and move it on the timeline. Double check the user position, disable the placeholder collection and export the scene by pressing Q and select Export GLTF. Select GLTF Separate and select the World Model folder in the Replacer tool. If you have PNG files as textures but not using the alpha channel as alpha clipping, you can select under Geometry JPEG format to compress your textures to decrease the file size. To create a looping audio for your scene, open up Audacity and import your audio file. Select the part you don't want and delete it. Create now a new track. Select the first few seconds of your first track, cut it out, select the second track and paste it in there. Use the time shift tool to move it to the end of track number 1. Select the envelope tool to add a maximum volume point at the end of track 2 and a minimum volume point on the beginning. Do the same for track 1 but inversed. The only thing left is to lower the gain to get a less dominant effect. A value between -50 and -20 works well. Do this for both audio tracks. Now you can export it as OGG.